Hello, and welcome to Daytime Today. I am James Lott Jr. here on GLJ Media. Welcome to the show. And of course, we've been following this story along the way, so I had to do another episode so we can actually talk about the resolution so far that has happened on Days of Our Lives. If you've been in a hole in the wall in the soap world, then you have not heard about Albert Alarm, the co-executive producer of Days of Our Lives on Peacock, had some allegations against him for all kinds of conduct and misconduct. Well, after all that's been going on, he has been let go. And they replaced him with a woman. Now, if you follow my shows, I've been saying this for years that I think the soaps now need some female head writers and female head executive producers. So this is a step in the right direction, especially for Days of Our Lives. Not saying that men can write or men can produce. We know they can, but it's been lopsided for years. And I just think, and I personally, even I'm a man, I still think a woman, and especially now, the genre's been around for so long. And if you remember, soaps were created by women for women originally to sell soap. So, I mean, I just think it's a great thing to have. I mean, of course, we want diversity, but I first want to read Albert Alar's statements. I actually was shocked to put a statement out. I was wondering if he was going to, but I was like, is he going to do that? And he did. Let me read it. This is his Albert Alarm statement, and I quote, "It is hard to overstate how heartbreaking I find the situation. These allegations were already examined in a detailed and entirely independent investigation that lasted for 2 months. Dozens of individuals cooperated. Every claim was thoroughly looked into. At the end of the process, the decision was made that I should continue my role as co-executive producer. Now, with no new facts presented, the studios have reversed course and caved into cynical pressure campaign to force me out of my job. It's important to set the record straight. Every day, I worked with hundreds of people, an overwhelming majority of whom would disagree with recent mischaracterizations of me. I have been in this industry for decades, and not a single complaint has ever been made against me until now. Many of the claims recently referenced in the media are simply false. Others have been taken out of context and are so twisted they are unrecognizable from the truth. To be clear, this whole situation stems from the animus of just two individuals. Those individuals, at the time of industry-wide cutbacks and economic uncertainty, have been relentlessly angling for greater pay and increased influence on the show. And it appears believed that their best strategy to get it was to play on vile stereotypes in order to bring down a black man in a position of power. I will always be proud of being the only black director producer in daytime soaps. And while I'm devastated by the manner of my departure, I'll always treasure my years at Days of Our Lives and wish the wildly talented cast and crew the very best for the future. Very interesante, as we say in Spanish. All righty. So I've seen reaction, of course. I've seen reaction all over the place. So my reaction, because people ask me, what is your reaction to this? Because I'm a black man in the business, and I do know how the industry can be. I do also know how it could be in certain industries where complaints and things are lodged at people of color when they start speaking truths and doing things and being torn down, i.e. Victoria Rowell. Okay, in this case, personally, I've never been on Days of Our Lives. I've never been on the set. I have no idea. So personally, I don't know anything. Some of my inside information from certain people that I know, they've never had any problem about it. They just haven't. So for them, it's hard to hear. And now we know that can happen. Some things be directed at certain people and not at others. That's totally not uncommon. We know that. So, and I also, as a person who's actually a victim of several different things over the years, I also understand that this could be true too. That he was doing things that were not the greatest. So I do understand that also. And the couple of folks that have spoke out, one of them I actually know, and I actually tend to believe her. People in work environments It could be many things to many people. It could be totally, it could be anything. It could be one to one person, not the other. But again, I personally was not there. I'm reporting on what's been said, what's been going on. I'm not there. Now he brings up the black part, which is very interesting. Now, reading this, it can be read 10 different ways. Some folks say gaslighting, which that happens. I talked about gaslighting on shows. It totally happens where it's completely true. They're trying to deflect, gaslight. There are several things in here, mischaracterizations. They wanted increased pay. Like all these keywords are in this statement. You can totally look at it that way. Also, you look at it as he's leaning on his blackness to gain sympathy and deflect also. That's been done for him. Somebody do with their gayness or their Asianness or this, whatever. That's totally possible also. Those things are totally possible. What if he's telling the truth? That'd be interesting too. What if he is? What if he's telling the truth? And people are trying to be nasty and dirty towards him. And because he doesn't give them what they wanted, they went, because nowadays you can say anything about anybody and people pick up on it and go from there. And there have been some folks, not all, many folks who it's come out that they were bad. But there were some folks that came out, they weren't that bad. And it did go too far, and they had consequences, and when nothing really happened. So it does happen occasionally. People don't like to talk about that, but here at JJB, we talk about everything. So I'm not saying he was innocent. I'm just saying, what if that's the case? Or what if he is delusional and he thinks he's innocent and did nothing wrong? We know that happens too. Well, we're at work. We're all friends. We have 18-hour days. If I slap your ass or make a comment about your boobs, I don't really mean anything by it. It's just a joke. That happens too. So there's so many angles to this. And what's really telling is his claim that they already investigated, I guess didn't find where they didn't find, and they're going to keep him. That's interesting if that was true. And then, but he let him go. So I'm curious to see what he does going forward, aren't you? Will there be some sort of lawsuit? Will he play the race card? What's going to come out? Or is he going to go away quietly? I don't know. I have no insight. But I'm wondering, and I'm sure you are too, will he go away quietly or will he go away loudly? Or not go away and be loud? One of the two. For me personally, as a black man, I'm saddened by this because you were the only black man who was director, producer in daytime soap operas. So you were. So now I'm upset about that also. So if we'll see if that happens again, right? If we get anybody else. Because a lot of times when they only let one of us through, it's really real. You always get a second one sometimes. It'll be interesting to see how the industry reacts to this, because there's black writers, there's that. But I'm just curious about the director producer position. Producers are in charge, executive producers are in charge of bringing things under budget, keeping things in step, which he was doing. He was doing his job. But I'm personally hurt and saddened that this happened with a black man in charge, and that black man and it was the one who allegedly did all these things. That makes me sad because there's not many of us running around in there in the space. So that saddens me. And if all these allegations, you guys be careful how I say this, allegations are true, that makes me even sadder also there too, that you abused your power on people. And that's not good either. And that's not good for any race or anything. So there's no real winners in this situation, I guess. But I mean, the winner, I guess there is a winner, and that is Janet Spellman Drucker, whose name I've seen on the credits for years. If you don't know who she is, here's a little brief synopsis. I'm reading it over here. She's been with Days for almost 40 years. She came in March '84. She was a PA, production assistant. Then she became an assistant to producers in August '88. Moved her way up to associate producer in '89. Coordinating producer in '93. senior coordinating producer in 97. I mean, she like worked her way. She knows Days of Our Lives. She assumed her current role as producer literally August 3rd, 2015. So literally 8 years ago. So she's somebody who has the experience of working up the ranks. She knows the culture, she knows the show, she knows what's going on there, and now she can assume the role. And to me, very deserving. I'm very, very excited and curious to see what happens under her leadership, what she decides to do. Again, I'm just happy it's a woman. I think, well, I'm like, why not? I'm happy it's a woman. I'm glad. So now it's like we're watching Days of Our Lives for its storylines on camera. Now we're gonna watch. We're listening and watching for them off camera. So there you go. And then somebody asked me again for my thoughts on Silver Digest. So far, not covering it. I'm very curious if they will now cover it, because usually in the comings and goings stuff they talk about who's new. So I'm assuming they're going to mention that this switch happened. They're going to have to actually mention why. So I'm very curious to see what they do. I know that some things are print. I understand some things they're scheduling when it comes to print. And a lot of cutoff times and days and dates are certain cutoffs. You can't get them to press a certain. There's a lot that goes on. I understand that. But I do personally find it weird that they haven't covered any of it. Not even like now. Like there's not even a blur. Like they even throw even a blurb as something. So I'm with you guys at home. Like, yeah, some talk about that. But then most of you know how I feel about Smoke Digest. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. Listen, give me your comments, of course. Shout out to everybody who went to the Y&R and Bold Beautiful events this weekend. No, I was not there. But glad to everybody who went. And I've been seeing lots of pictures. Amanda Russ was in town, so I got to see her. Candace Mack was in town. I get a chance to see her. So it looks like it was a good time was had by all. And hi to my friends over there at both of the shows. This weekend, our shows return. Jason Mean Spotlight, Bone Beautiful Mean Spotlight, and Y&R Mean Spotlight. We will be back this weekend at our regular slots. I'm James Lott Jr. I'll see you next time. Daytime Today is on all social media platforms.